All right. So today, the title of the message is called "Who?" No. Let's see. Where am I?
Where am I?
Where am I?
Amen.
So where am I? Such a good question to ask. There are so many different paths a person could take, different places a person could be. But if we don't know where we are, then how can we be sure that we're heading in the right direction? And that's if there's somewhere that you're actually going. So that leads to another good question, and that is, where are you going? Now that's another topic for another discussion for another day. But the question focusing on today will be, where am I? One thing I can remember, what comes to mind when I think about this is when we go on the road trips, or when you're just going somewhere long distance. From time to time, we could be, could be talking. Maybe it's a family trip, or you're into some music, or a podcast, or whatever going on, or you're just daydreaming. And sometimes we just zone out where you're driving, instincts kicking in, taking care of everything, but your mind is really like on several different things. And then suddenly you realize, whoa, where am I? You stop and you kind of like trying to gather your bearings, figure out where you are. And usually from there, if you have Google Maps leading the way, you can like depend on that to see, okay, all right, I'm good. I didn't miss my turn. Or if you are already familiar with the area and you like look for like iconic areas, okay, I know this street. Okay, so I'm good. And you keep going. Or sometimes we realize, oh, wait, this don't look familiar anymore. And you realize you've gone too far out. So I think in life, we all have these situations where we can get into where, we kind of just get lost into something. Sometimes. We zone out. And by the time we really snap right back in, we have to figure out what's going on and where we are and process everything. And what's important about that, because sometimes we can get to this point where we're just completely zoned out for long periods of time, just lost and not even know it, where you just offer one thing to the other, and it's like, what's the end goal? What's the purpose? What are you doing? What is it leading up to? And sometimes you don't have an answer. You're just doing it. And what that means, typically, if you have nowhere to go, and if you don't know where to go, where are you going? What are you doing? And if you don't know where you're going, say, where are you actually? If you don't know where you are, that's just complete confusion to yourself, and it can be very, very destructive and time wasting to just be in a position where you don't know where you don't know what's going on. Another thing, sometimes I have another example, is when, imagine if you got smacked or punched in the face. I remember playing football. Sometimes we used to play tackle at the park, and sometimes I'll just get hit, boom, and next thing you know, I'm like dazed and and the first thing to do, I gotta gather my bearings, because I might get up and think I'm all right and fall. Sometimes some boxers, they'll be in a match, and next thing you know, they get a real good hit on them, boom. Next thing you know, they trying to play it off like, oh, they didn't faze me, but really, you out of it, and you want to pretend you got under control. Next thing you know, you take that wrong step and then you fall. And sometimes we do that as kids when you say you get in the chair and they spin you and spin you and spin you. Oh my goodness! And then you think you got it, you think you can walk, and then you take that first step, and that step was completely off. And next thing you know, you're on the ground. Hopefully, you're not on the ground on your face. But we got plenty of examples where you can just lose your bearings, and this is going to happen from time to time. But thing is getting that grasp and going on to the grand scale of things is there's day-to-day life. You can go to work, you go home and everything, but in essence, this when you shrink it down, what about your life? Where are you in your life? As you know, you're not gonna live here forever. Are you processing that? Where are you going with your life? When that time comes, when it's time to wrap it up, have you got that figured out? Do you know where you're going? Do you know where you're headed? Do you know where you are? If you can't answer that question, that's something to be concerned about, because technically we don't know when that time is, when our time is up on this earth, when our life is wrapped up. That's God. And so God gave us his life, but God also gave us responsibility to make sure that we handling things, if you buy a home and you're not really equipped, you're not even paying attention or prepared for anything, say hurricane season is on its way or it's already here and a storm is coming, and if you're not really paying attention to the news, you don't have anything prepared, you don't have, then you're not really being responsible for that situation. So usually if that hits you from the blind side and you're not prepared, I mean, you must have been lost in some aspect, and that's where you wasn't prepared to be able to handle the situation that was coming to you. And since we have this life, God gave us this body, and God gave us all these wonderful talents and gifts and experiences that we can enjoy in this world, and we at least take up the responsibility that he dropped onto us to actually maintain ourselves, know what we're doing, and actually give back to him what he gave us in a sacred form where, okay, God, you gave me this responsibility, I'm gonna live it up. I'm gonna make sure I don't let you down. I'm gonna show you that what you gave me, I'm gonna take care of it, and when it's time to come back to you, that it come back, 100-fold, multiple, not just that, I didn't do anything, I was just lost, I wasn't paying attention, I just got caught up on this and that, so interesting. All right, one thing we need to realize, as I mentioned with some of the examples, is a point of reference. I know this song, I think one of the songs, So Will I think it mentions God having no point of reference. But us as humans, we need a point of reference. We ain't in the position of God. We get lost. We get dizzy. We spin out of control. We need some kind of reference, something to hold on to. And so that's basically what is a point of reference, something reliable, something stable, something that you could depend on. So when you see yourself drifting, something you can align yourself with, and what is your point of reference in your life? What is something that's guiding you? Sometimes some people look to celebrities as a point of reference. That's not a good thing to do, because just because someone is famous and have all kind of money, that don't mean this is a person that you can look to and feel like, oh, this is the example of how life should be. This is the example of somebody who got it all figured out. No, unfortunately, a lot of times these type of things, you just see the small piece of things. You don't see the whole picture. You don't know what's really going on in a person's life. When the camera comes on and they start recording, they're talking, they look all put together and clean. They're going by a script, something's acting out, and they look like they're in control. They got it all figured out. They're well kept together, but that's just because the camera's rolling. Once until you see them when the camera's no longer rolling, then you're like, oh, what's going on? You could see a person that's like a motivational speaker, person who inspires or show toughness. Like you can watch Rambo and think, oh man, I like to be Sylvester Stallone when I grow up. I want to be able to handle guns and have muscles. I can go there and be that one-man army. But then realize when the camera's off, he probably can't even, really handle war in a real situation like you see in the film. He's not prepared for that. He's just doing the show. And a lot of times we get caught up on the show, and then we end up putting our trust and faith into the wrong things. Even some people, a lot of people put faith in America, thinking America is going to be something, long sustaining. Like, you can put a little bit of trust, depend on things, but you got to know that, okay, I'm not going to put too much weight on you, because I know you're gonna fall. You're not really 100% stable, you know. And for me, the essence in all in my life, you know, my foundation is going to be on Jesus Christ, you know, because I know that is what's everlasting, you know. Amen. The Word of God surpassed all these different situations that came on in life, you know, countries, dynasties, empires, whatever, they came and they went, but the Word of God still remained. So that's why I choose God and His Word to be my point of reference. Amen. And also, you know, when you have a point of reference, you question it. You gotta test it. You know, is it reliable? You know, what you depend on. You know, what you looking at to. How you figure out where you are is based on this point of reference. So you gotta question these things, and that's why it's good to question whatever you depend on. If you gotta get the stuff figured out. What is this? What is this? You know, and once you get all the ins and outs, you see what's really going on, and you make that decision. Oh no, you're not dependable. This is not it. You know, you can get excited that you get a great job that pays well. Oh yes, and then next thing you know, you think this is gonna be something you stand on, you lean on, you make your identity a part of it. Next thing you know, one day they'll lay people off, and then you one of them. And this whole thing, this foundation that you put your trust on, you leaned on, you believed in, next thing you know, it just crumbled because it let you down. It wasn't holding you up anymore. It's a sad thing to do. It's a sad place to be. Now, if we go to Isaiah chapter 42, starting at verse 18, it says, "Hear ye deaf, and look ye blind, that ye may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I've sent? Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant?" He's talking about Israel. Clearly, in this situation, God's not too fond of Israel at this time. And he's calling them, they're blind. They're deaf. You know, he can still call them the servant. And in this situation, you can tell coming from how God is talking to them through Isaiah is that you guys are lost right now. And he's telling you, you know, where that is. Verse 18. When he says hear, he's telling them if you hear and look, he's asking them so he can hear and he can see. Let's go verse 20. "Seeing many things, but thou observest not. Opening the ears, but he heareth not." You know, I think about that. Sometimes life has a lot of stuff going on. You know, it's really busy. But we have a lot of situations going on that's eye-opening sometimes. You know, for me, I can see something and it just really make me realize what's going on. Like, for example, seeing how in the world right now, especially with politics, how seeing deception and shifts and change, and you know, it's like, wow. And you kind of see the frailty of what you really thought was something strong. You know, when you thought something was really dependable, it's like, wow, it's not what it cracked up to be. And some people can see that and see the same deception, can see the same weakness, and just go, oh wow, that's crazy, and just move on. You know, and not realize you don't really, did you process what really happened? Did you really take into account what you just witnessed? You know, if someone came up to you and like say you're working with a coworker and you guys got tasks, you guys are sharing out for the shift, and you're like, okay, you're gonna take care of these 5 things, I'm gonna take care of these 5 things, that's the end of the day. And at the end of the day, you ask them, oh, so you took care of those things, right? You good? And they say, oh, yeah, it's all done. We good to go. And then come find out the next day, manager's calling you. It's like, yo, why wasn't this done? Why wasn't that done? It's like, so-and-so said he was gonna do it. Well, we kind of agreed upon that. But, you know, of course, the responsibility falls on both of you guys. Now, when someone lied to you like that, sometimes some people just take it, oh, he just lied, and just say, okay, he's crazy. I'm and then continue on like nothing happened. But really, you got to process, wow, this person just really told me this and that and really didn't do that. And now I need to know, I need to align myself to that. I got to realize, okay, this person's not trustworthy. I can't really, I got to make sure, I guess next time when I go to work, I got to go check for myself to see if he did it, and make sure that it's done right. And if he didn't finish it, I'm going to go get him, or I'm going to let somebody know. That's taking right measures. Sometimes some people don't process things and just go along with the flow, And then next thing you know, you're wondering why things out of whack, why things all messy, why you can't figure things out. It's because there's so much stuff going on around you that's sometimes God is showing us stuff. God show us people. God show us what's really taking place behind the scenes. But sometimes we're just too caught up on other things to actually really see what's happening. Verse 22, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are a prey, and none delivereth, for spoil, and none says restore. Now this is showing you how Israel is such in a bad position, but you think they even noticed it? Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient to his law. Now, Isaiah's letting it out that, this is why it was happening. Verse 25, therefore he says, therefore he has poured upon them the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and has set him on fire round about, yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. Imagine so much going on to you, and you, God is just letting you know this is wrong, flat out. You're bumping your head in the wall because God putting his wall right in front of you, but you just can't see it. You just can't see it. You keep on going. Your life is burning up. You're going through so many trials because you're really putting yourself in that position. And God is letting you, he's showing you, but you just can't see it because you are so focused on the wrong thing. You are so lost. And that is another issue. When you're lost, you are not really aware of what's going on around you. You're not really aware. You're not really processing what's taking place around you. You just go with the flow. It's like, okay, oh, cool. And then imagine stumping your foot and you're in pain, but you're not even noticing. You just hit something. I mean, okay, what was that? Did you look at what was that? Did it hurt you? Did you process that? And imagine making the same mistake over and over and over, hitting the same thing. If I had we have furniture. I have a history in the past, as childhood, running around the house all the time, and my pinky toe would take the brunt of the hits because I'd just be cutting corners around the house, and next thing you know, my pinky smashing this, smashing that. Next thing you know, I'm always in pain. But guess what? If I had realized that from the first time, wow, that's painful. It's because of that couch right there have a huge, really tough lumber piece that sticks to the ground that my toe seems to hit. So I need to make sure I go around a little wider. But if I just get hurt every time and then I'm running again, getting hurt every time, I'm not processing that. You need to watch out. You keep hitting the same thing over and over. It's crazy, but sometimes we do that. We make the same mistakes. Boom, 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 boom. And God's not gonna move out of the way because clearly you ain't learned your lesson yet. So let's go to Mark chapter 7, verse 14. And this took place after the Pharisees questioned disciples about not following traditions and cleaning their hands, washing your hands and stuff before they eat and stuff. So, sometimes people can come up to you with questions, and sometimes are valid questions. You just want to concern, but sometimes people come with questions just to really, they have other motives.
Right.
But in verse 10, not 14, try to verse 10. And he called the multitude, and he said unto them, hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth defileth a man. Now, God is setting it straight, letting them know what's going on. And he's clearly talking about the Pharisees and stuff, and he's kind of letting them know, you guys getting way too concerned about traditions and stuff like that, and y'all caught up on these things, y'all completely wrong. So he's just setting it straight. Now, verse 12. This is Mark chapter 7, verse 12.
Thank you.
Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? And sometimes people get offended, but the truth hurts sometimes. And sometimes when things getting completely out of whack, where people are constantly shifting the conversation to something else, or you're trying to talk to them, but they're trying to turn it around to a different angle so they can kind of win an argument or something, turn it into something where they can win or make you look bad or something. But God always stops it right on the track and put the truth right out. And sometimes it just hurts because it had to be said and it's true. But verse 13, this is the highlight. 14 will be the highlight. 13. But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up. And verse 14, here it is. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. And I love that because it's so simple. And it makes sense that when you have someone like that's your guide, I guess, your point of reference that you look to follow, you're saying this person is reliable enough. This person knows the way. I'm gonna follow you. In this situation, the Pharisees they had that image of piety, and honor, and usually they were the ones that when you see them, these are the people we need to depend on. These are the people you need to turn to for help. These are the people that can show you guidance, And in this scene, Jesus said, let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And sometimes it's crazy because we have a lot of blind guides, blind leaders showing as if they know the way, and they're attracting so many people. Follow me, do as I do, look at me. And guess what? They're blind. They're blind. And as Jesus said in that verse, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. And if you're blind and you follow a person you thought is know the way, but they're blind, eventually y'all fall into the ditch. Eventually y'all both lost. Y'all lost. Y'all not going anywhere. So that's another huge thing about whenever you're trying to figure where you are, you got to make sure you're looking at something that's really reliable. If you're looking at this person, looking at that person, or you're looking at this current situation, something that's always fluctuating, changing, you can't depend on that. That's not reliable enough. Sometimes they show you things, we see things, and we put so much emphasis on it, and then realize, this is not it. I remember growing up, my house was always kind of wild because my parents, they always worked and didn't have a lot of money, and they had these strict rules, and we didn't live very poor, but it wasn't really all that. But we watched TV, and I'll see shows like Family Matters, Full House, those old shows like that, and I would really look at that and I would say, this is how life is. This is how life is supposed to be. And then I would always try to compare the way I lived and the way the show was showing it. It's we are so off course because this show is showing this, is showing that, and I don't have this, I don't have that. I don't get to celebrate, holidays like they do. I don't get gifts like they do. And all of a sudden, I create this false sense. Next thing you know, I'm completely unhappy at my home, even though my parents working their butts off. When I think about right now, putting it in proper perspective, they both came from Haiti, came here with nothing, and started from the bottom and worked their way to be able to. They bought a home. We had a house, 4-bedroom home with a pool eventually, and it was just like, of course, as a child, I didn't see none of that. As a child, you didn't process none of that. That's a lot of work, effort that was, really established, and that's a really amazing thing. And of course, that's one of the benefits of, coming into America, where you have these, these options, these possibilities. But to see all of a sudden me just take all that and completely shove it aside because it's not looking like what I saw it on TV, that's bad. That's real bad, because the TV, if you actually go to those so-called houses, how clean it is, once the camera moves just a little bit, you see it's just a stage.
Right.
And there's a crowd and they set it up, and it's not real. And it's sad when we put so much focus on things that's not real. Right, and we trust these things that's not real, and then we hope in things that's not real, because when real stuff happens, that stuff that's not real ain't gonna help you. That's like the blind leading the blind. They make the sense, come follow me, look at what I do. And next thing you know, you put trust into it, and then it just all falls apart. And we can go to Psalm 73, the Psalm of Asaph. Truly God is good to Israel, even to such as of a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. You let him know he was almost out of there. In verse 3, for I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. He was envy, so he wasn't happy with what was going on. And he's like, what that got going on, it looked like it's way better than what he's got going on. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Now notice, he's like, now this is the wicked. It's like they're not going through, they don't have these issues like the others do. These are the wicked. They're doing this and they're not really getting, the punishment, the consequences that we kind of expect them to get. They're not in trouble. They're not plagued. In verse 6, therefore pride compasses them about as a chain, violence covers them as a garment. Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than heart could wish. So he's seeing them like, wow, they living it up. They got it all going on. There's nothing holding them back. And it's like, this is the wicked here. This is the wicked. Yeah. Verse 8, he know that they are corrupt. They speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily because he knows wrong. This person has discernment. He's not saying that they're good or, no, he knows that these are bad individuals. These are wicked people. But he's seeing that they're getting a lot of benefits right now. They're not really experiencing difficulties like, other people are. Okay, almost lost myself. Verse 9, they set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. Therefore his people return hither, and waters of a full cup are wrung out to them. And they say, how does God know? And is there knowledge in the Most High? Now this is where people question God. These wicked people living it up, get the most valuable life, and they got all this lavish things and probably living it up, and they're also saying things about God like, who is God? What can he do about this? What does God know? What can God really change around here? They're questioning it as if saying now that they have the power and the status that's more powerful than God. Verse 12, behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches. Now this is what he's noticing. And clearly what he's saying is not always wrong. That's clearly, we have a lot of examples where we see people who just live wild and who don't believe in God and who do wicked things all the time, but yet they can have the nicest house, all the money, they can live it up in the fanciest things, and we can see that and be like, wow, this person's very bad, but they're getting all these good things. And in verse 13, verily I have cleansed my heart in vain and washed my hands in innocency. Now this is what typically happens sometimes when we kind of lose ourselves, lose our bearing, because clearly his point of reference is getting kind of shaky, because he was like, well, it looks like his point of reference was on the nice things. You know, he wasn't looking really on God, because he was looking at the quality of life, and he was looking at, you know, what possessions you have and what you kind of life you living right now, and not necessarily on God. So the fact that the wicked person can live however they want, do everything, and they still get these nice things, then he's like, oh, that was one thing I was looking at. You still got that? Something seemed off. And now he thinks what he's doing is all in vain, all for nothing. Verse 14, for all the day long I have been plagued and chastened every morning. So he's been going through a whole lot. If I say I will speak thus, behold, I should offend against the generation of thy children. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me. And you see, basically, what he saw, all this that he's seeing, it's like, wow, it's so much. And then as we go to where we are, dang it. 17. Until I went to the sanctuary of God, then understood I their end. Surely thou set them in slippery places, thou cast them down into destruction. How they are brought into desolation as in a moment. They are utterly consumed with terrors, as a dream when one awaketh. So, O Lord, when thou awakest, thou shalt despise their image. Now, this is that moment when you kind of get a little fuzzy, and then you look for that reference, that point of reference, and he went to the house of the Lord. He went to the sanctuary of God. So he pretty much went to God. And this is what really aligned himself right, really made things more clear for him to see. And once that happened, that's when he really saw, oh, okay, now I see the bigger picture. Now I see what's really going on. Now I know where I am. Okay. 20. As a dream, when one awakens, so, O Lord, when thou awakest, thou shalt despise their image. Thus my heart was grieved, and I was pricked in my reins. So foolish was I, and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Nevertheless, I am continually with thee. Thou hast holden me by my right hand. Thou shalt guide me with thy counsel, and afterward receive me to glory. Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire besides thee. Now, as you can see, this person is really, his point of reference is not on earth. He's saying, oh, no. Right now, I'm going to focus on God. God is my guide. Verse 26, my flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. For lo, they that are far from thee shall perish. Very far. Thou hast destroyed all of them that go whoring from thee. But it is good for me to draw near to God. I have put my trust in the Lord God, that I may declare all thy works. When he came to that realization, everything he's saying, yeah, they living their own life, fancy stuff. They're going through all that, but we don't realize, yeah, a lot of that short term. You know, yeah, they got this, yeah, they got that, but guess what? It ain't gonna last forever. And sometimes what you see is not really it's not really it. Amen. They got all these fancy things, but you don't know how miserable they are. You don't know how, do they sleep well at night? You know, are they really at peace? You know, do they really have that fulfillment, you know, that you think that they will get with this lifestyle, with this thing they have obtained? No, not really. That real essence that we look for in life is found in God. God is the one that provides that fulfillment in life, that peace in the heart, where we get that peace of mind of living and really enjoying this life. And I can see how in this scripture he showed you where he was kind of slipping, because when he saw that, he was losing it. But when he went to the sanctuary of the Lord, that's when everything lined up straight. You know, sometimes that's just like us being at the beach, and you know, you set your stuff on the beach. You got your cooler, you got your chairs and everything. And you go out in the water now, and all of a sudden you don't realize how far you drifted away from the point. But and then once you look for your stuff and you find that, then you realize, oh, this is where I am. I need to move over to the side a little bit because we're drifting too much. And God is that reference, that point of reference that really shows us where we are, and He shows us where we need to be, and He's that guide that we need to follow. So, thank you.
Amen.
Amen.